The Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, would you please call the roll?
Senators Bridges,
Excused.
Cook, Quorum, Court,
Absent.
Crowder, Danielson, Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Foote, Gardner, Janal,
Excused.
Gonzalez, Hill, Heisey, Holbert, Lee, Lundeen, Marble, Moreno, Pedersen, Priola,
Excused.
Rankin, Rodriguez, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Story, Tate,
Excused.
Todd, Williams,
Absent.
Winter, Woodward, Zenzinger, Court, Mr. President.
Here. With 30 present, 1 absent, 4 excused, we have a quorum. Senator Danielson, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the Journal of Thursday, January 24th, 2019 be dispensed with, and that the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Mr. Carpenter, please add Senator Williams to the roll call. Committee reports.
January 24th, 2019, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 63 be amended as follows. As so amended, be referred to Committee on Appropriations with a favorable recommendation.
Senate Services.
Gregory Ran Gross, Senate Bill 27, 39, and 44.
Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 106 by Senators Cook and Zenzinger and Representative Tipper, concerning an additional process by which a Board of County Commissioners may initiate the withdrawal of current employees who are peace officers from a defined contribution retirement plan offered by one or more local governments.
Finance. General readings, general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Gonzalez will take the chair. Also, Mr. Carpenter, please add Senator Tate to the roll call.
The committee will come to order. The coat rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the titles to all the bills on the general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar?
Senate Bill 18 by Senator Scott and Marble and Representatives McLaughlin and Singh concerning the age requirement to drive a commercial vehicle in interstate commerce. Senate Bill 24 by Senator Tate, Representatives Arndt and Hooten concerning the payment of taxes by electronic fund transfers. Senate Bill 6 by Senator Williams and Representatives Kraft, Tharp, and Van Winkle concerning electronic sales and use tax simplification system and in connection therewith requiring the Department of Revenue conduct a sourcing method for the development of the system and establishing the implementation of the system for the acceptance of returns and the process of payments for the sales and use tax levied by the state and any local taxing jurisdictions.
Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the adoption of all the bills on the consent calendar and the associated committee reports, which include Senate Bill 18, Senate Bill 24, and Senate Bill 6, along with its Finance Committee report.
Is there any discussion on any of the committee reports? Thank you. The motion before the body is the adoption of all of the reports to all the bills on the general orders, second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it and the reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the general order, second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee will lead reports out on consideration of the following tax bills being second reading thereof makes following recommendations to run. Senate Bill 18, Senate Bill 24, Senate Bill 6 is amended, pass second reading order, grace placing calendar for the reading and final passage.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? And prior to this vote, Mr. Carpenter, would you please add Senator Priola to the roll call? The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 2 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 18, Senate Bill 24, Senate Bill 6, as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General order, second reading of bills. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of general order, second reading of bills, and Senator Gonzalez will take the chair.
The committee will come to order, and the coat rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 32?
Senate Bill 32 by Senator Scott and Representative McCluskey concerning the routing of hazardous materials being transported on the roadways of the state.
Senator Scott. Oh, Mr. Majority Leader. Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Senate Bill 32 lay over until Monday, January 28th, 2019.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The bill is laid over until Monday, January 28th, 2019. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 35?
Senate Bill 35 by Senator Corden, Representative Benavidez, concerning enforcement measures available to the Department of Revenue for the collection of delinquent taxes.
Senator Court.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is a bill to make certain that people who have not been paying their taxes on time and appropriately can be encouraged to do so. This is to make it fair so that all of us who do pay our taxes on time are treated equally to those who might decide that for one reason or another they're not going to pay on time. And I think that my good colleague from the Finance Committee, who is from El Paso County, would like to say a few words about his support for this bill as well.
Thank you. Senator Lundin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to acknowledge this bill and acknowledge also there is a learning process that we all go through as we read legislation, as we research legislation, and as we more fully understand legislation. You will have noticed that in the record I was a no vote on this particular bill in committee. That was because I was concerned that, in fact, we might be taking a tactic away, a legitimate tactic away from those individuals who would seek to keep the power in the hands of individuals instead of in the hands of government. As I looked further into this, I discovered that, in fact, there is a legitimate and complete process associated with this in which there is not a legitimate shifting of power, and there is not a legitimate tactic that individuals could use to, in fact, avoid taxes. They would be actually evading taxes. And everybody knows there's a big difference between avoiding taxes and evading taxes. So that long explanation is simply to say, upon further review and understanding of this bill and research that the Department of Revenue helped me complete, I will in fact be a yes on this particular bill on third, should it matter to you that I voted no in committee. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to explain my perspective on this bill as it has evolved.
Certainly, Senator. Is there any, you're welcome for that opportunity. Is there any further discussion? Senator Court.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
All right, seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 35. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Let's see. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 23?
Senate Bill 23 by Senator Staten Finberg and Representative Kraftthorpe, concerning exemptions from the security laws for cryptocurrencies and in connection therewith enacting the Colorado Digital Token Act.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 23. Members, my colleague and I are here to explain Senate Bill 23, which has to do with crypto. Unfortunately, if I were to explain what crypto is, it would not be crypto anymore, and the whole legislation would collapse. So, but I'll give it a shot. Members, if you remember last session, we had some rigorous debates related to this topic. A lot of confusion. In fact, we were some ways in second reading and third reading with different motions to reconsider, amend, whatnot. Our own activities here reflected the complexity of the subject matter. As a result, the governor appointed a blockchain council that my colleague and I served on, and through 7 months of hard work, we have come out with the Colorado Digital Token Act with great fanfare here in our IT sector of our economy. And without further ado, I'll turn over to my colleague to explain some other details of the Colorado Digital Token Act. Thank you.
Senator Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is a bill on a topic that many of us may only sort of know what it totally is, and I think that's actually sort of the point, because this is a new technology and it's evolving quickly. We don't know all of the applications and how this is going to be used in the future. However, what we do know is we don't want to stifle innovation, and we want to encourage entrepreneurship and the advancement of this technology in the state of Colorado. And that's where this bill really comes from. It clarifies what is a security, what is not a security, so that there's consistency and clarity for investment and for entrepreneurs to feel like they can operate in Colorado safely and have the room and freedom to innovate. The current regulatory framework in many ways, I think, was written for a system and technologies that were available decades ago. This is a new technology and new concepts, and therefore I think it's appropriate for us to tweak the regulatory framework and say what is exempted and what is not exempted from certain types of regulatory procedures. And that's really what this is about, is to allow blockchain and cryptocurrency to operate in a manner that everyone sort of understands the rules of the road, but also still specifies what is a security and when consumer protection is appropriate, and for the regulators to actually play a role. So that's what this bill does. I appreciate my colleague from Centennial and the fact that his thinking has evolved on this amazing technology since the last session.
Senator Tate.
Thank you. And certainly it has evolved from strong support to even stronger support. And certainly the good news is for us as lawmakers, we don't have to understand blockchain technology to make a prudent decision here on this matter. As my colleague from Boulder mentioned, the real issue is with creation of assets, in this case digital assets, does that mean that there's a securities offering or not? And we have in this legislation prudently crafted some definitions by which our regulators can assist industry in that determination, by which innovation is not stifled, unnecessary legal costs are not incurred, and continued business investment happens here in Colorado, making us a leader nationwide in this new emerging sector of our economy. Urge an aye vote, members. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Williams.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you to our colleagues for bringing this bill forward through the blockchain technology and the commission. Last year, members, we had quite a few bills come through the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee, and at that time, we just weren't sure where we were going. What does cryptocurrency look like? What is a Bitcoin? And the work that they have done, and particularly around the federal definitions, how we make sure that Colorado is operating in this environment that's very progressive right now. It's even being used around mortgages and lending. And so I'm glad that you all have brought this piece of legislation and clarified for Coloradans and those in the business who are able to operate around these digital coin acts and use Bitcoin. I've had an opportunity to actually load Bitcoin onto my cell phone through a mobile device during Denver Startup Week, and to be able to understand how to actually transact versus using cash and going to an ATM and being able to load Bitcoin onto my mobile device and then make a purchase with it. So I've had some hands-on experience with that and understand how we can transact. And again, I appreciate my colleagues who have brought this bill forward to ensure that this industry can continue to thrive, and that not only like me, but like yourselves are able to use cryptocurrency in the event that you get an opportunity to do so. So thank you.
Thank you. Senator Todd.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, colleagues. I do want to rise in support of Senate Bill 23, and the bill passed out of Committee 7-0 and probably should have gone to the consent calendar. But the teacher in me said, you know, this is an opportunity for you to educate the rest of our legislators on something that is relatively new and different. And so we started listening and learning more about it last year, and you know, there's full support from the committee, and I just wanted to assure everyone that that is how it did come out. And again, thank the sponsors for their little lesson here this morning. The entire conversation about cryptocurrency and blockchain, and the Blockchain Policy Council has really put Colorado on the map. And I know several of the conferences I've attended, national conferences, Colorado has had the speakers. They've come from, in many cases, they've come from Colorado Springs. And they have come and been very vocal about the work that we are doing here in the legislature and moving it forward. So I thank the sponsors for your grace in giving a little lesson this morning, and urge an aye vote from everyone that it's a unanimous vote as we pass it out of the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious about this. When it says digital tokens cannot be used for speculative or investment purposes, that indicates to me that the Bitcoin that we're talking about is only utilized for certain things that can be used. What I'm looking for is, how do you establish the value of a Bitcoin, and how do you actually say that this is something that's viable, because it's not backed by anything, and I don't quite understand how the value of the Bitcoin, other than speculation, which it says you can't use for speculation. So I'm a little bit confused about this. And it might be a new type deal, but I'm somewhat used to the dollar issue that we have in this country that's backed by dollar bills or specific sets, but I don't quite understand it, and I can't see myself voting yes on it if I don't understand it.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I welcome the question from my colleague from Alamosa. One thing in terms of explaining blockchain technology, I can't provide members here consumer protection in regards to my providing that education. One thing I want to make clear is that this isn't the underlying technology behind Bitcoin that we're talking about. A cryptocurrency like Bitcoin is just one application of blockchain technology. And one thing in terms of Bitcoin is that it is, as you say, Senator, a fiat currency. It is a matter of speculation in terms of its value. And the degree to which Bitcoin should or should not be regulated, that is a matter related to the Money Transmission Acts. One thing this bill does is says, in terms of creating a digital asset which can be used for all kinds of applications, including rewards points by working with a company, or gift cards, things like that, is that the issue at hand is when someone creates the technology and they receive money for it, is that money an investment in a speculative investment in terms of the value of the entire enterprise, or are they providing money for that digital asset for a consumptive purpose, like rewards, things like that? And so what the bill does is it specifies that if it is a consumptive purpose, then it would not be a matter of securities regulation. However, if it is not for consumptive purpose, meaning someone's creating assets and asking for investors to speculate in the value of the enterprise associated with the creation of those assets, then it would be a security and subject to the securities laws. The bill allows companies interested in this area to communicate with the Securities Commissioner, register what they're doing to get that guidance of clarity, working with our regulators. And I appreciate the question, because there's always speculation in everything. Like gold, for example, is traded and speculated, but gold is not a security, it's a commodity. And in some ways, these digital assets are themselves commodities once they're established for consumptive purpose. Thank you for the question.
Don't go, Jack.
Senator Crowder.
The only question I have is, if you use a Bitcoin and you pay, basically a debt is paid, and I realize this could actually also affect the U.S. dollar, but once that debt is paid, if the Bitcoin goes down drastically within minutes of that payment, would there not be situations arise where the person that was paid that debt would would actually say, well, even though you paid this debt in a timely fashion, it devaluated so fast and the dollar did not, would there not be ramifications of the buyer-seller on the Bitcoin on the value?
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator, for that question. Certainly, there would be a matter of concern. Then the person who decided to accept the Bitcoin as payment would suffer potentially a capital loss associated with having received that payment. But that is a subject as to matters of money transmission and commercial transactions between parties, as is to whether or not someone wants to accept Bitcoin as payment. This is related, the act here is not dealing with how these assets are used in the economy. This act is dealing with how these in terms of these assets being created originally and sold, what are they being sold for originally, and should they be subject to securities laws? We're not contemplating money transmission laws at this time. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 23? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 23. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the committee rise and report.
The motion before the committee is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee will basically report that in consideration of the following text bills being second read over makes following recommendations on Senate Bill 35, Senate Bill 23, pass second read order and gross place in calendar for the reading and final passage. Senate Bill 32 laid over until 1/28/19, retaining its place in the calendar.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 2 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 35, Senate Bill 23 passed on second reading, order engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 32 laid over until 1/28/2019 and returning its place on the calendar. Committee reports.
January 24, 2019, Committee on Education, After Consideration, Mayor's Committee orders the following. Senate Bill 3 be amended as follows. As amended for Committee on Appropriations, favorable recommendation. January 24, 2019, Committee on Education, After Consideration, Mayor's Committee orders the following. Senate Bill 9 be referred to Committee of the Whole, favorable recommendation.
Announcements. Disregard as I stand. Consideration of governor's appointments. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the appointment to the Public Utilities Commission?
Member of the Public Utilities Commission of the State of Colorado, effective immediately for term expiring on January 9th, 2023, John Charles Gavin of Paonia, Colorado, non-affiliated, appointed.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the consideration of governor's appointments for the Public Utilities Commission lay over until Monday, January 28th, 2019. Or 2020. 2019.
You have heard the motion that the appointments be laid over until Monday, January 28th of 2019. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The bill will be laid over. Announcements. Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I would like to ask you to please acknowledge some special guests that are in the chamber today. Members of CASE, Colorado Association of School Executives, are with us. They are having their national conference today and tomorrow, and so you will see some of them around the Capitol, but we do have several representatives here from different school districts that we're delighted to welcome, so please join me in welcoming them.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, and I have one further announcement, and that is an invitation that next Wednesday morning at 7:30, the Joint Education Committee has been meeting every Wednesday morning at 7:30, and we will have a special guest. Governor Polis will be coming to present on full-day kindergarten. So even if you are not on education, but you would like to come and be a part of that and listen, we would urge you to join us at 7:30 a.m. in the Old Supreme Court, or the 271. Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we have reached the 1 week mark to raise money for the junior livestock sale at the National Western. Why am I arriving at the mic on Friday? Because if you, like myself, might have your campaign checkbook in a place other than Denver, this is your last chance to retrieve that campaign checkbook, because you can support the National Western Stock Show Junior Livestock Sale with campaign funds. So we are a little bit short of the goal line as of now. So please contribute what you are able, and if you are able to hit that $250 level, which is a very significant contribution, we will of course add you to the Cowboy Cowgirl Caucus. So thank you, colleagues, and look forward to a robust round of giving next week. Thank you.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we are part of a pretty prestigious club here, being one of 35. But there's actually someone in the chamber right now that is part of an even more prestigious club, if you can believe that. I know, I didn't know that was possible. But every year, 32 people are chosen for something called the Rhodes Scholarship. Many of you, I'm sure many here have applied. Maybe some have received. But every year, 32 Rhodes Scholars are recognized from around the country. The Rhodes Scholarship is an international postgraduate award for students to study at the University of Oxford. It was established in 1902, making it the first large-scale program of international scholarship. It is literally the most prestigious competitive academic scholarship in the world. And these scholars are judged by criteria that was set in 1902, which is academic excellence, great personal energy, ambition for impact, the ability to work with others, the ability to achieve goals, a commitment to making a strong difference for good in the world, concern for welfare of others, and awareness of inequities. And one of my constituents is here with us today, and she is the first CU Boulder woman to be awarded a Rhodes Scholarship. She is the 20th CU Boulder student to be awarded the Rhodes Scholarship ever. The last one was actually in 1993. So it's been a while since the University of Colorado has had this honor. She's also among, I think, just a handful of Sikh Americans who have received this award. And her name is Serene Singh, and she's here with us in the chamber with, I think, some of her family, and I think some of her family may be constituents of others, not just me, in this chamber. So I wanted to call her out and congratulate her. We have drafted a tribute that we will be giving her, and we wanted to congratulate her for the honor that she has given us, and the great achievements she has made, and the even greater achievements she's going to be making in Oxford as a newly minted Rhodes Scholar. So please give Serene a round of applause. Thank you and congratulations, Serene.
Senator Donovan.
So time flies when you're having fun. Thank you, Mr. President. The junior livestock sale is tonight. It's not next week, as I previously mentioned. So if you are contributing, you have to contribute right now. And so please find Senator Danielson or anyone who, Senator Quorum, because we are in much worse shape, because I thought we had next week to raise all this money. We don't, we have hours. So the junior livestock sale is tonight. Thank you, colleagues, and apologize for the incorrect information.
Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, today the Legislative Labor Caucus will be meeting at 2 p.m. in room 351. I will be joined by my co-chair, the great senator from Centennial. It is open for you to attend. And again, 2 o'clock p.m., Legislative Labor Caucus, room 351.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate adjourn to 10 a.m. Monday, January 28th, 2019.
You have heard the motion. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the Senate will be adjourned until 10:00 on Monday, January 28, 2019.